I apologize. We're 2 minutes late. I will now call this into order. The July 12th City of Walton Council meeting. If everyone will please stand for invocation and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another day on this earth. Lord, I ask that you give guidance to us as elected officials. Lord, I ask that you give us wisdom. You allow us to avoid pettiness. Lord, I ask that you grant us the strength to do what is right for the city of Walton. In your son's name, I pray. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could I please get a roll call? Wow.
Howard Stevens.
Here.
John Wainwright.
Here.
Terry Courtney.
Here.
Sherry Snowden.
Here.
Diane Martin.
Here.
Matt Brown.
Here.
Okay, few quick announcements. August 2nd, there will be a caucus meeting at 6:30 here at council chambers for. Sorry, that's too loud. August 9th, there will be a council meeting here at the senior center. And if I could I please get an approval of the agenda?
Can I make a motion to amend the agenda? Adding in ordinance 2022-08. This is what we tabled last month to remind council about the church annexing the property.
See, intent to annex? Okay, and that's a first reading. I have a motion on the table.
A second.
Howard Stevens.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Sherry Snowden.
Yes.
Dan Martin.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay. So I have an amendment of the agenda passed. If I could I get an approval of the minutes for the...
Well, Mayor, you should get a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would need a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Howard Stevens.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Sherry Snowden.
Yes.
Dan Martin.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, and then I would need an approval of minutes for the June 7th caucus meeting, the June 14th council meeting, and the June 21st special called council meeting. Traditionally, in the past, we have done a combination. If council would like to do that, they may do that.
Motion to combine. Second.
Howard Stevens.
Yes.
John Wainwright.
Yes.
Terry Courtney.
Yes.
Sherry Snowden.
Yes.
Dan Martin.
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay. Go on to Major Mark. Major Mark, how are you, sir?
President accounting.
There you go. The worst things to be.
Worst places to be too, right?
That's right.
All righty. Council has my report, but for the benefit of your audience, there was 912 law enforcement incidents handled in the city of Walton during the month of June. Among those include 5 911 hang-ups. Deputies responded to 27 alarm drops, 5 attempts to locate, 5 animal complaints, 23 auto accidents, 2 burglaries, 14 business checks. They did 32 criminal or civil summonses, 6 criminal mischief reports, 5 domestics, 7 drunk person complaints, 3 emotional crises, 8 juvenile trouble calls, 9 motorist assists. They responded on 1 overdose call, had 10 requests for information, conducted 404 spot checks, took 18 suspicious activity reports, handled 32 traffic complaints. Deputies conducted 40 traffic stops, did vacation checks on 4 homes, handled 18 vehicle complaints, unlocked 12 cars, had 9 wanted person complaints, and all told, they issued 18 citations and made 10 arrests. Sure y'all are aware there's been, on the topic of the burglary and the criminal mischiefs, there's been several incidents involving either criminal damage to cars or property. Looks like it's being conducted by juveniles, and that's still actively under investigation. There's the burglary at the high school, the incident at All Saints, and then several complaints of juveniles throwing rocks at passing cars. So, still working on that. Any other comments or questions?
Council, questions for Major Mark?
Major, would you say Walton is like any better or worse off than the rest of Boone County? Or it's like about the same everywhere you're going to go?
I think Walton is pretty much a microcosm of the rest of the county at large.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Major Mark, I'm sorry, I wanted to give the opportunity for council to speak before I speak, as this is their meeting. I've gotten a few little things here and there, and I'm not sure how to go about it. I realize the service that the Sheriff's Department does, and for the city, and the cost to the city, which is almost none. But there's a question that keeps coming to me about vehicles parked on streets. And I don't know how to go about it other than suggesting to the people that live there to call the non-emergency line and claim that there are vehicles parked on their streets that are dead vehicles with no tags. I know that you have personally looked into this for me.
Correct.
And that situation was corrected, but for whatever reason, this comes to me quite a bit, and I don't feel that it should be directed towards me. It's not, the mayor doesn't solve all problems, but
Just most
God
of
love
them.
this town. A lot of the citizens seem to think that I can handle all these situations. So I don't know how to best direct them other than tell them to call non-emergency, because it's not an emergency. Maybe contact our code enforcement officer. I honestly would just like your thoughts and opinions on this, because it's not just one or two that call me. It seems to be an ongoing issue, particularly in the subdivision areas where parking, maybe
a
driveways are tight and people have more than one vehicle. But if these vehicles aren't moving, is there something we need to do besides calling non-emergency or recommending people call non-emergency? Is there something we should do code enforcement wise, or should the city council be looking at maybe hiring an off-duty officer to go look at some of these things? What would be your suggestion on this?
I wouldn't recommend hiring an off-duty officer, because they're still going to be, by and large, reliant on the citizens in your city to notify us when a problem arises. As much as the deputies patrol the streets in your city, You know, and you said maybe it's a vehicle without tags, you know, that's something that's going to draw attention to itself. But just a deputy patrolling the streets, unless they drive by and memorize, the date, time, and location of every parked car, there's no way that they're going to know, how long a car has been parked on a given street and not moved. I mean, that's when we really rely on the partnership with the residents in your city to help us with that. And when they see a car that hasn't been moved for a number of days, all they have to do is exactly what you suggested. Pick up the phone, call 371-1234. A deputy will come out and investigate. If a vehicle is properly registered, what that will involve isn't marking it for parking. They'll mark it, notify the rest of the department that the vehicle's been marked, come back in 5 days and see if it's been moved. If it hasn't been moved, it'll get a ticket.
Okay. And just for clarification, how far does that vehicle have to move?
It has to move.
2 foot, 10 foot, just move?
It has to move.
Okay. No, I appreciate it, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot or any of that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to communicate what needs to be done, and for most parts, anybody that's complained to me about this, I've told them about the same.
And again, as to Mr. Martin's question, I mean, parking complaints similar to this is something that we have handled literally every day in other parts of the county, and the same procedures followed everywhere else.
Okay. And I appreciate the job you all do, and I don't expect for the officers we have in the city. I would prefer that you will not be the parking enforcement officers, but if it is an issue for the citizens, I'm thankful that you all will attend to that issue.
Well, I mean, parking enforcement is a quality of life issue, and if it's important to the citizens, the people of Walton, if it's a headache for them, then it's an issue that our personnel need to address.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Bill, one question.
Yeah.
Does that also include parking lots as well?
No, sir, that does not.
how does that work?
Ordinances only apply to city streets. Parking on parking lots or private property, excluding, your city parking lot, of course. But any parking on private property has to be policed by the property owner.
So like Kroger's and that, if they have abandoned vehicles, they would
It's wholly within the authority of the management at Kroger to have the vehicles removed.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Major Mark. I appreciate you.
Thanks, sir.
Chief Vest, you're the next contestant on The City of Walton is Right. I got to work on that. All right.
Good evening.
Yeah, just get rid of it. It wasn't that good.
Thank you,
For
Chief.
the year of 2022, up through the end of June, the fire departments responded to a total of 896 total responses, incidents. Out of that, 389 of those incidents occurred within the city limits. 279 occurred in what was considered a Richwood area. 90 of those was in unincorporated Boone County. 64 of those incidents were in Kenton County portion of our district, part of which additionally is within the city limits. 75 were in the neighboring fire districts, which we call mutual aid areas. Again, total was 896 separate incidents that we responded to. Recently, I had a council member, I believe it was, I don't know, it might have been you, Mayor, somebody, and I apologize for not remembering who exactly, asked me between our two stations, approximately how many calls out of the totals was out of each station as far as incidents. So this month, I gave you all an additional report, which reflects the two halves of the district, basically. The district is divided just north of Chambers Road along Dixie Highway. So south of that marker line, I'll say, or dividing line, is Station 1's primary district or area, and then north of that is Station 2's. So with those landmarks in mind, out of the 896 incidents that we've responded to this year, 577 of those incidents was in Station 1's response area. 319 of those was in Station 2's response area. With regards to the mutual aid, the 75 mutual aid responses, it would have been wherever that call was closest to, as far as the south end of our district to the north end. So if it was to go and assist, I'll say Florence, then it would have been included in Station 2's response area. Anyone have any questions regarding that?
Council? Chief, would you say that this was, last month was a normal month for this time of year, or would you say it's abnormal? I see some things that seem a little high.
It's been pretty typical as far as the time of year. We always see an uptick in outdoor type injuries and incidents, especially motor vehicle accidents this time of year. And with that, we try to make public safety announcements, communicate to people, put your phones down, wear your seatbelts, slow down a little bit, especially with all the road construction, an increased amount. The road conditions are good for that, for the most part, and people have a tendency to drive a little faster, and we see more catastrophic type crashes. Where in the wintertime, roads are bad, slick, we may see higher numbers of incidents, but generally they aren't the catastrophic type crashes that we see in the summertime because people are being a little more cautious and slow.
Thank you,
Chief, I saw you guys were hiring on Facebook. Is that to expand your staff, or is that to replace some turnover?
All you do.
I had one person who retired recently, so I've hired two people. One is to fill that vacancy, and I've increased our staffing by one. We still have one paramedic position that's vacant that I'm working on filling now. Once that position's filled, then I'll have 9 full-time people total on 2 shifts, 8 full-time people on 1 shift. My goal is by the end of the calendar year to have 9 full-time people on all 3 shifts.
Gotcha.
So we are increasing our staff slowly as we can.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Cardinal Engineering, Matt Bogan. No, Mike brought up a good point to me that I should just scrap that and never say it again. So I actually agree with him, so.
It would be funny to see you run down here, though.
All right, evening, everybody. Finally have some good news on the High Street project. We got our right-of-way certification back from the state. In fact, they said they signed off on it back in May and neglected to tell us, even after all the times that I pestered them looking for updates, so.
Typical.
At least it's done. That said, it sounds like they are wanting to see how things shake out with our reapplication to OKI for additional funding. They said that was their concern right now, is to make sure that we had adequate funding for everything, you know, to account for the cost increases since we got started on this project. So I checked with OKI. Their board will be awarding the latest grant funding in October. So I guess that, you know, if the state's not going to give us the notice to proceed, that we can bid it out until after that, then, you know, that gives us some time to get all of our paperwork in line, you know, the bid specs and plans and all that. I'd like to send it over there and let them look at it in advance, and then that way if they have any comments about anything, we've got time to address it. So I'm trying to send that over there soon. On the 2022 road projects, Michael's Construction and Humphreys Concrete, their sub, started last week doing the concrete panel replacement in Cawthon Run and Haley and Rachel Ann. And then the asphalt resurfacing should be following up in the next few weeks. Last month we talked about the entrance to the 11 School Road property, the building the school's using as an archery facility, and the entrance and the culvert improvements. So the quote that we got from Wrigler was $35,000, which would have been high enough that if the city was covering all of that ourselves, we'd have to bid it out. Mayor Brown and I talked to the school and with Wrigler and try and, you know, get those costs split up and find an agreement that everybody's happy with. So the city offered to pay for materials for the culvert pipe, the head walls, and the channel liner in the ditch, which is $13,010. If the school board would be willing to cover the remaining $21,990 in the school, so that they were okay with that. So that work's underway now. Most of that is done already. Looked like they still needed to do the ditch improvements on the uphill side, and then do the final surfacing and the joint sealing on the entrance. And then earlier this week, Mayor Brown reached out to me and said that he had seen a story about a traffic safety project that they were doing in the city of Cincinnati. They had a design for speed cushions. It looks almost like the speed humps, the wider ones, but instead of going the full width of the road, it has brakes spaced properly for the wheelbase of, you know, emergency vehicles, fire engines and ambulances, so that they can get through with, you know, minimal slowdown, because that was one of the concerns, or one of the drawbacks to doing the standard speed bumps and speed humps is, yeah, it slows down, you know, passenger vehicles, but it also slows down emergency vehicles. We didn't really want that. So this would be an alternative to that, you know, cars and trucks will have to slow down, but, you know, if there's an emergency, that they can still get through without, you know, with minimal impact. So he asked me to just kind of look into that and see if that's something that we could get benefit from in Walton. I talked to Chief Vest. I found a standard drawing and sent it to him, and he looked at it and said that it looked like, you know, it would work with the vehicles that they have in their fleet. It does still have the standard drawbacks of, you know, if it's placed near homes, they're going to hear bump, 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 bump at, you know, all hours of the night, day and night. And, you know, our plows would have to watch out, you know, be aware of the locations and lift the blades up so they don't do damage to the blades. But it does seem like something that we might be able to use. So, you know, if you guys, you know, look around, you see any places that might be good candidates for that, we can, you know, start, you know, evaluating places maybe to consider those. The cost that I saw looks like it comes out to about $3,500 per installation, and that's for the speed cushion itself, you know, putting markings on it, and then putting warning signs on the street. So yeah, if anybody sees any place I think might work for that, let me know. We can start getting a list together of prospects. On the Owens Park Lake, dredging is still in progress. They've been getting a lot of material out of there. In fact, they haven't even gone up to the north side of the lake past the house yet. The contractor thinks that he can get another 2,500 to 3,000 yards out of there. So that puts us over the as-bid quantity. So he's going to come up with some numbers of what he thinks it would be to do that additional amount. That will require either extending the dewatering pit that we've got. They'll probably just take it to the north, or they could add a second pit probably up by the house. So, when I get numbers on that, I'll send it around and, make sure everybody's okay with that before we have him proceed. But he did think that area would be good for, once we get it stocked with fish, that'd be a good breeding ground. And then a follow-up on something, on an MS4 matter that came up last month. Mr. and Mrs. Farrow mentioned that at the end of Brookwood, where the road drains outlet on their property, there is it has an area where the water just backs up, and there's a 72-inch culvert that goes onto Brookings Farm, and they said that there's just material piled up in there, and the water just sits, and until it builds up to a certain point, it never really drains out. So, it just gets scum on top of it and mosquitoes and all that, and asked if we could do anything to look into that. So, since that larger culvert is outside of city limits, we would have to, we can only address things on, in the right of way and on their property. We checked the flow lines and the pipes, and the large culvert is lower. That was my concern, was that when they replace it, that they put it in higher, and that was part of the problem. It's fine, it can drain out. We just need to dig out and shape that ponding area so that the water actually clears out of there. And then also the swale that comes from Ashwood and then snakes through those properties, including their own, to get to that point, has been eroding pretty good over the last several years. So it would also, if we're working in that area, it would be beneficial to put in some channel liner just to protect that embankment. So I haven't gotten any contractor quotes, but ballpark costs, I would say $5,000 to $10,000 to regrade that outflow area, and $15,000 to $20,000 to protect the ditch. We could probably cut back on that by doing just the stone and not doing like a erosion control blanket or anything like that. But I guess I checked the plans, or the plat for the subdivision. There's no drainage easement or anything like that, but it is being caused by the city-owned storm systems on Brookwood and Ashwood. So I'll put it out to council if if it seems like something that the city should be a city project, or if we think it should be up to the property owner to address it as they see fit. So. Does anybody have any questions?
Before council jumps in, Matt, is that something that the city, should we proceed, is that something that we should get easements for in order to proceed with this project? I know that becomes tedious.
It does. I mean, at least in this case, it's one property. It's all on the Farrows' property, and they were the ones that brought the concern to our attention. So I don't think that they would be opposed to it. What SD1 does on pre-existing facilities that may not be covered by easements is they say that there's a prescriptive easement. So pretty much centered on the alignment of the pipe, they say that they have a de facto easement that they can go in and make improvements. Pipe fails, or something's eroding, or just the system is outdated and needs to be updated. So I'm not sure if we need to have an ordinance that establishes that. I would imagine so. I think we would have to have something that puts that policy in place.
I think that's by state law, the prescriptive easement.
Okay, all right.
But I would prefer to have an actual written easement because the Pharaohs may not own that house forever. And
Sure.
it'd be best to have something recorded.
Okay.
And honestly, I wouldn't have any problem with you and our counselor, coordinating that with the Pharaohs. And if Barb and Ron are, the ones requesting that, I don't see where they would have too much of a problem if an easement's what needs to be. Barb's a former council member. She's familiar with the routine of it
Sure.
all. But if you all want to, try to figure that out and come up with a plan. I know I've seen where she emailed the both of us about this recently. So I'm sure she would appreciate, trying to look at what this entails to finalize it. I'm neither an engineer nor am I a lawyer, so I'll divert it to the experts on this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it would be good to get an easement. We're only going to keep getting these kinds of situations that come up, now that we're managing our own stormwater. So, this is when we start getting those processes in place so that, when the next one creeps up, that we've got something to stick with.
Yeah, the MS4 has really been something. Council, do you all have questions for Mr. Bogan?
I do not.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. I'm going to skip and hold off on citizen comments. Doesn't look like other than you. Do you have any comments? Okay. Chair, no. All right. That looks like I've covered the citizenry. Since we did an amendment of the agenda and since Mr. Brogerman and company are here, I'm going to go ahead and put the first reading of ordinance 2022-08 first on the agenda here. An ordinance of the city of Walton, Kentucky expressing its intent to annex several parcels of real estate owned by Our Lady of Good Counsel Church and Home Sweet Home Trust, located along and adjoining the current northwest boundary of the city and located north of Beaver Road, west of I-75 and surrounding Skyway Drive, all is more particularly described and illustrated in the exhibits to this ordinance, and requesting Boone County Planning Commission to hold a public hearing and make a recommendation as to the zoning which should apply once the territory is annexed. And with that, I would like to welcome Mr. Brogerman.
I have a bad neck, so I'm going to not run it. I'm going to
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all. Just have a couple things. I apologize. I was unable to make the last meeting with a conflict. I do a lot of these things in the evening. A couple things I just wanted to throw out there for your all's consideration with regard to this. And I know there's two things I wanted to touch on. One was, what is the benefit to the city? What is the benefit to the church? And then touch on the traffic situation as well. I remember my Uncle Walt well back in the day, and it was funny. We have 3 farms in the city of Walton, and he came to me and he's like, I think we should put these in the city. I want to put these in the city. I'm like, why do you want to put them in the city? All it's going to do is add a property tax. We're going to farm it. And he convinced me to put them in the city, and it was the right choice. And by doing so, since 1990, after I bought them from the family farm, I pay the city tax. And it's the right choice. I'm happy he did it. I see the value in being part of the city. I raise 2 crops of corn in the city. Probably the only one I raise grain crops in the city of Walton. But I do. And I don't put a whole lot of load on the municipal system. I'm not going to say I don't have a couple police reports. I think they keep running through my fence a lot. So about every 3 years, I got to get a police report, try to track somebody down. But that aside, I really don't put a lot of load, but I pay my tax, and I think it's a good thing. You know, and as an example, when the International Park wanted to go in back on Beaver, they needed to run the sewer line. So we gave them the sewer easement. That's fine. We, team player, want the city to grow and develop and see the value of all that. So that sewer line ran up through our place. It still does. Runs all the way up alongside Clarion up to the gravity main that's up there in the corner. You know, the thing had a leak 2-3 years ago. You know, we don't have any easements and all that stuff. It's come on, fix it, do what you got to do. Just trying to rut it up too bad. You know, we're all team players, get it, and then we get it all fixed, and it's all good. So I just want to say the value of being in the city is something that I've appreciated dramatically. Even though I don't benefit from it financially, it doesn't serve anything other than I appreciate the enhanced service that it can provide. You know, I'm a public school architect, so it's not a case where I'm up here trying to sell some architectural services. I don't believe I've sent Mr. Brueggemann the bill for this, and I worked on this thing for probably 2 years. So this is something, I do all the work for the public school systems, and that's really where my teeth are cut and where my business exists. But when you go in these communities, you say, what is the value to the city? It's tremendous. It's the same value that you get from, you know, we're excited that the library's going to do something. There's no tax benefit of that. Same thing when the public schools build on. That's good. We all want, you know, nicer restaurants and nicer amenities, nicer quality of life, so we don't have to drive 30 minutes or so to go to a nice restaurant. But how does that happen? That doesn't just start there. It starts with bringing people into the community and supporting people in the community that are going to say, hey, I'm going to pay extra for a non-public school experience. That's a person that is probably going to, on Sunday afternoon, want a nicer restaurant. If that person doesn't exist and you put a nicer restaurant, it won't be patronized. Because you have to think of, you can't just start by saying, I want nicer jobs in the city of Walton. I want better high-paying jobs. You have to provide those people that are willing to pay a little extra. I can tell you, anytime a parochial system goes in, it does eliminate some of the load on the public system. It really does. There's benefits to that. But I just can't imagine, I've participated in Wake Up Walton, all those kind of goodies and all that kind of stuff, and things that reach way beyond even the city limits. The city limits are kind of a hard edge. When you look at, it's like there's one property that is, one property that isn't. I would say from a city benefit, it's to your advantage to control it. You control what happens in properties. When you have islands that aren't in your city, you can't say what happens to it. There are many edges like that. I mean, our farms are kind of on the outside of the city, and there's even farms in between us that aren't in the city, so you don't control that. So I think by enhancing that and getting control of it is really beneficial. I think having the things that will attract businesses and better things that you're looking for are of extreme value to the city. And it is no different than any of that. That's what quality of life is. It's all the incidental thing, park service, all that stuff. It doesn't create any revenue. The church and the school Mr. Brueggemann is looking at already has 150 kids in the basement. So you're really only going to add another 150 kids to it. The way they pack them in those extended vans, it's 20, 30 cars. And when you look at the traffic situation, I mean, we farmed on Beaver Road, and I get bound up in it. I live off Mount Zion. Oh my goodness! I mean, in Richwood, we're all in this bottleneck, but it seems like the traffic, it's not being created in the city. It's what's happening over on, down the street on 25. It's Richwood traffic coming up. The Beaver traffic. I mean, if Boone County, we don't have any control of that. What if Boone County passes 50 new houses down Beaver Road? They're all going to bottleneck and jam it up. It's not the extra 30 cars from coming from the church or the school in essence. So, and I think of what is Mr. Bergman gaining from it? Well, I mean, he doesn't have to be here. This is not a business of his. This is not something for financial gain. He's going to pay for this thing almost. I don't get into his business, but I would assume he's pretty much taking care of this. So you've got a private citizen that's willing to put that kind of capital investment in this and wants to be part of your city, and is making no money, nothing, just because of his commitment to his church and what he wants to accomplish and what he feels we need for the community. I can't believe tapping the brakes on that. And I think the things that are kind of standing in the way, traffic. I mean, there's got to be ways we can work around some of that stuff. I know there's a study going on the intersection right now that I think there's some money approved for. I know Mr. Brugum has met with Judge Moore before, and asked to be part of those committees to evaluate that. I mean, we're working that goal, but the traffic is so much bigger of a problem than 30 cars. When you have a citizen of the county that wants to make that kind of local investment, is just unbelievable. I had the chance to actually purchase the property that the convent's on next door back when Mr. Fulmer owned it, and I would have liked to have bought it. When I found out Jim wanted it, what he wanted to do for it, I didn't want to be the one that took that. So I kind of let that go. So I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say than that, but just for your consideration, there's a tremendous value to having this type of facility in the area, and it will attract the things that the community is trying to gather. I know it does provide a little more load to the infrastructure, but not a tremendous amount. They do still pay occupational taxes. They still have to pay a water bill. They still have to pay a sewer bill. They pay for what they're using. There's just not the enhanced level of property taxes. And as you know, most of the property taxes go to the school system anyway. So it's kind of a wash. So that's really all I have to say. Just appreciate your time, appreciate you listening to me, and your consideration as you think about this.
Thank you.
Emmett, thank you. Emmett, just for clarification, you do work for Walton Grove School System,
Yes,
correct?
I'm a self-employed architect.
Just for those that may not know you, I know who you are and who you work for.
We actually do all of Boone County. We do Boone counties, Waltons, and Grant counties. So,
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Bergelman, you have anything to add?
Appreciate you listening to us and considering that we're one part of the team.
Okay, thank you. And with that, to advance this, I would need a motion.
I don't think we've actually brought it up yet, have we?
I read it before
Oh, okay.
I
Gotcha.
opened it.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Howard Stevens,
Yes.
John Wainwright,
John, muted or John?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
yes or no?
No.
Terry Courtney,
No.
Sherry Snowden,
Yes.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
3-1. All right, so next order is Resolution 2022-05, resolution of the City of Walton, Kentucky, adopting and approving the execution of a municipal aid co-op program contract between the Incorporated City of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Transportation Cabinet, Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2022, as provided in the Kentucky Revised Statutes accepting all streets referred to therein as being streets which are part of the incorporated city. Counselor, sir?
Yeah, I mean, that's the title to it. This is the annual municipal road aid program resolution, which would authorize you to sign the agreement. It's anticipated for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022, that the amount available to the city will be $80,593.43. If you would like the city to pursue getting that amount back from the state, you would approve this resolution, and you can do that by motion.
I'll make it.
Second.
Howard Stevens,
Yes.
John Wainwright,
Yes.
Terry Courtney,
Yes.
Sherry Snowden,
Yes.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay. Next is Municipal Order 2022-10, an order repealing Municipal Order 2022-07 of the City of Walton. It reads, an order repealing Municipal Order 2022-07 of the City of Walton, Kentucky, whereas the Boone County Planning Commission by Resolution R-22-006-A recommended rezoning of an approximate 8.4 acre area located along the north, east, and west sides of Town Center Drive and being immediately south of the Walton Kroger located at 635 Chestnut Drive, Walton, Kentucky, and whereas the Walton City Council, in accordance with KRS 100, held a public hearing on the issue on May 17th, 2022, and whereas, based on the findings of fact elicited at the public hearing at the City of Walton Council on May 27th, 2022, passed Municipal Order 2022-07, denying the request of Walton Land Development Company, LLC, and whereas Walton Land Development Company, LLC has filed a complaint in the Boone County Circuit Court under case number 22-CI-695, alleging open meeting violations, and an appeal of the City Council municipal order denying the request of the Walton Land Development LLC, and whereas the majority of the Walton City Council desires to repeal Municipal Order 2022-07 in order to resolve all outstanding legal issues and settle the Boone County Circuit Court lawsuit as well as any other potential claims against the city, and to allow the zone change to occur in accordance with the operation of law. Now, therefore, it be ordained by the City Council as follows. Section 1, that the City of Walton City Council repeals Municipal Order 2022-07. Section 2, this municipal order shall be effective immediately. And council, we have the option on the agenda to go into closed executive session. If council does not feel that we need to go into closed executive session, I would call for a motion.
I make a motion to go into closed session to discuss this. One, we don't have proper counsel or anything else at the moment. I need a second to go into closed session.
Second.
Yeah.
And the motion should include the citation to the statute that you're under, which would be KRS 618101C, discussion of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of the public agency. Is that a friendly amendment?
Yes, sir.
Who seconded that?
Terry.
Is that,
Yes, sir.
okay. Record reflect.
Council, I would ask, I'm just, if we're, actually, well,
We need to take a
let's go
vote.
through the vote here first.
Howard Stevens,
Yes.
John Wainwright,
Yes.
Terry Courtney,
Yes.
Sherry Snowden,
Yes.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay, council, if I could ask for about 5 minutes here. I've just texted Greg Voss, counselor, to get on the Zoom link. He was on standby for this evening. He's prepared. So if you'll just give us a few minutes.
Mayor, are you going to do that here and clear the room? Or are you gonna-
Yes, anybody who is currently not a city council member, you may come back after executive session is over.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Do you mind go off?
Yeah, they wanted it off, so
Oh.
I disconnected you.
Okay.
All right, so motion to approve the ordinance or the rescinding
Motion to repeal.
Sorry.
Dan, you first.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Howard Stevens,
Yes.
John Wainwright,
In protest due to lack of legal counsel, yes.
Terry Courtney,
Agree with John Wainwright and yes.
Sherry Snowden,
Yes.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Okay,
I don't have any comments.
we'll go through council comments. Howard, Councilwoman Courtney.
My only comment would be, last week at caucus, we still had items to discuss, including whether or not insurance was gonna pay, and you stood up and stated that you would be right back, and 20 minutes later, we went looking for you and you left. Just making it a point to say your communication effort is still poor. It was very disrespectful and rude. We all have families to get back to as well. And perhaps you could have just maybe used your communication app to let us know you were gone. That's all.
Well, maybe.
That put a smile on my face. The app, that was a good one there.
It's still a lack of communication. It was rude to just get up and lie to us blatantly and say you'll be back.
Actually, I believe you missed the part where I said, "I will be right back, hold your breath." You might have
Nobody
missed the
heard you
hold
say
your breath
hold your
part.
breath. Everybody was waiting your turn.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, that's who you are.
Yes, you're correct.
I am correct.
Moving on, Councilwoman Snowden,
I'm good.
I don't have anything.
Councilman Martin, Councilman Brown.
No, I don't have any.
Are you giving John a shot?
John, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna make my comment in about 19 minutes, so everyone would just hold on if we could, and then I'll get to my comment about 19. Just hold your guys' breath.
Gotcha. You driving up?
Yeah, just hold, I'll be there. Just hang out.
Okay, I got nothing to do.
Go.
Put you on the clock.
Yeah, my comment is, I don't have one tonight because I'm disappointed that developers with threat of legal bullshit action won today due to compromised situations in both our professionals that work for the city as well as ones that were recommended. So that's my comment. So I'll have a good night.
Yeah, well, Johnny.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
Actually, can the mayor speak before we make a motion to adjourn? Because I'm pretty sure that's on the
Motion to
agenda.
Second.
I will leave my comments. My comments will be noted to the citizens of Walton via council requested letter. So I have no comment at this time.
No one
I
requested a
hope there's
letter.
libel in there. I hope there's libel in there. I really do get it.
Yeah,
And please tell the
Use
citizens.
city funds to create libel situations. So
And how you,
just-
and how you were the only one in the whole building that supported this development against what the citizens felt. I hope you include that part.
I will.
Wasn't the only one.
Please do.
Well, for the record, Howie said he
I
wasn't
want to
the
have
only
that
one.
reviewed by an attorney before you send it out, okay?
Sure, I will. John?
I would use the same recommendation. It'll be a good spot.
Why don't
Motion to
you
adjourn.
use your new app
Second.
on the app or the dismissal?
Dismissal.
Dismissal.
Howard Stevens,
Yes.
John Wainwright,
Yes.
Terry Courtney,
Yes.
Sherry Snowden,
Yeah.
Dan Martin,
Yes.
Matt Brown.
Yes.
Ivana, you're appreciated.
There you go, Pete.
Oh,